Hey everybody, welcome to StouryTime with John and Friends. I'm your host, John. Today we have another great episode for you. Today's guest recently released a new record with her band, Pigeon Pit, titled Crazy Arms. She was a great conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with her. You know, it was nice to sit down and have a conversation about DIY touring and everything and learn, how their writing process worked and everything like that. If you like what you see, like what you hear, you've been listening to the podcast, please do me a favor and follow, like, and subscribe across all platforms. Leave a 5-star review if you can. That'll really help me in getting this out there, having it seen and heard by more people. I would really appreciate it. Tell a friend, tell a family member, anything you can do to help, that'd be awesome. Without further ado, please welcome Lomes Oleander.
You were pissing neon green every day.
That big ball of heat in the sky was too much. I thought there was a bear.
Reality goes, yeah, fresco. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome to
StouryTime.
StouryTime.
Lomes, thank you so much for joining the show. I really appreciate you coming on. How's your day today?
It's good. I'm on the Olympic Peninsula right now, at a friend's house. I just got back from the beach with my dog, and he's wet and cold and in bed now, sleeping. So
Nice. What kind of dog is it?
He's a black lab.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love dogs.
He's
I
a
have a
great
husky
dog.
myself.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a handful, but this is his prime right now because I'm in Buffalo, New York, so very snowy. It's what he's all about right now. So, so you guys had a new record come out, titled Crazy Arms. Amazing record. I love it.
Thanks.
The folky punk feel. It's very fun to listen to. I was listening to it a lot the last couple days, and there's a lot of songs on this record that are very intimate feeling when you're listening, just in the car alone, and I feel like that's very hard to do. And you guys, you all captured it perfectly.
Yeah, thank you.
Very well done. Where did the name of the band come from?
The band? Okay, so in 2013 or 2014, I was getting ready to put out in 2014, I was getting ready to put out my first full-length album, and had always just been a solo project that I was using just my name for. And I knew that I wanted to change my name from my birth name, and figuring out that process is hard, and you try different stuff out. And I was like, well, I don't really want something that is connected to any specific name for me. So I want to pick a project name that's not my name. And Pigeon Pit was just this image that I had in my brain of kind of a visualization of my anxiety and what my anxiety felt like, which is a giant hole in my chest that's full of birds.
Okay.
And just that kind of intense feeling in my chest that's really deep. And I always identified with pigeons because I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, which during the 2010s and early 2000s was just a huge hub for punk stuff and anarchism, and especially folk punk. And there was just people hanging out in the street all the time. And there's just a huge culture there of travelers and stuff, and people just hanging out in the street and hanging out everywhere, in crowds like pigeons do. And I don't know, there's an infinity there. That's with awesome. That animal. Yeah.
I love that. So as far as the band, when you started, it was a solo project?
Yeah, I started playing some of the songs that I still play in high school. And then I always wanted it to be a full band, but I don't know. It's always hard to organize schedules and get people, especially when you're younger. I feel people are less I don't know. It's just really hard to organize people with different schedules and stuff. And I could always feel I could rely on myself, and I was writing music, at night alone in my room, and I could make music by myself, and I could rely on that. So I got pretty good at just writing music for myself. And then
absolutely. No, that makes sense. And then at what point did you bring in other musicians to start playing with you?
Yeah. So, I started playing I had always played with other musicians too, like in high school, like occasionally, like I would play music with friends and we would, busk and, or even like play shows with just like one or two other people. And then on my first album, my friend Archie sings on it with me. And for a long time, we would tour together with them singing and me singing and playing guitar. But in terms of like a full band, it was in 2020 that I started playing with like fiddle and then drums and bass and banjo. And then kind of right before we recorded our first full length album with a full band, we had pedal steel. My friend Jim joined on pedal steel, and we had only been playing together for like with that lineup for like 3 weeks when we recorded that. So it was kind of like, it kind of came together like right at the last second. But
yeah, it's one of those kind of meant to be type deals,
Yeah. And in 2020, it was just like so much chaos and like no one had a job. No one I knew had a job. And it was just like, well, we're all getting paid money from the government and there's like a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. And we have a lot of time to like focus on shit we care about. And yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. So the record, a couple of songs really stood out to me. Alone in the Basement, Bad Advice, Bronco, Dear Johnny. Those are the ones that, really resonated with me right off the bat. What was your vision going into this recording and writing process?
Well, I mean, I have like so many different influences that are like really, obviously like being a band that's like kind of like a country and punk band, that's obvious already that there's like a lot of very different influences. But like Alone in the Basement is by that band Japanther. Mm-hmm. And so there's like that kind of DIY, like lo-fi pop. Like they were like such a crazy punk, but also like DIY, like lo-fi pop band. Mm-hmm. That's really good. And like Dear Johnny is like the instrumentation was like, I wanted it to be like, there's like I wanted it to sound kind of like Thin Lizzy and like, I don't know, there's just like so many different genres kind of combined. Like, I feel like I just listen to shit on repeat really obsessively. And I'm like, I want to like be capturing different essences and like, mm-hmm. I mean, that's like so much of art is like just like taking little ideas from different places that we experience and trying to synthesize them with our own like experience. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And Bronco, I was just like, that song is like the first Third Eye Blind album. It's just like worship of the self-titled Third Eye Blind record, which
hell yeah,
I've listened to on repeat like so many times in the past like 5 years.
I kind of got I don't know if you've heard of the band, but Pine Grove.
Yeah, totally.
I got like a Pine Grove feel listening to that song, and I love that band, so I feel like that's one of the reasons that song kind of resonated with me a little bit more.
Totally.
So yeah, I love it. It's the whole record as a whole. It's very well done. I love like how raw it feels at times. It's not like it sounds great, but it's not like overly polished. Sometimes you come across these records that you could tell that they spent $100,000 on it, on the production or something, and you're like, why? It's sometimes that can take away from the song is trying to be, in my opinion, at least. But so I do really enjoy the record as a whole. So as far as the writing process goes, are you writing everything and then bringing it to the rest of the bandmates, or are you kind of all, there's an idea, then everybody kind of, works together, or what is that like?
So I will like write the songs by myself, and like work them out. And then I have ideas, like when I'm doing that, I can like hear the arrangements in my head and like, oh, I want the drums to sound like this in this part. And I want, the electric guitar to come in here at this point. And then I bring that to the band, and then we start playing it. And like, obviously, like, our drummer, Olive, is like an incredible drummer. And she just thinks of shit that I would never think of, so like we develop the arrangements together, and like kind of work it out. And like, the arrangement is super collaborative, and I will have like ideas when I'm writing the songs, but yeah, usually I write them like in my room or when I'm traveling or, on tour. I write a bit, not as much as I would like to, but it's so hard on tour to be able to actually, like, I play so much less music on tour than when I'm at home. Yeah. So it's mostly at home, and then we arrange collaboratively.
Nice. So you're basically bringing in, like a skeleton and, build it off of that. Very cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I used to tour quite a bit back in the day. I played drums in this band called The Traditional, which is like an emo punk band.
Cool.
We were very DIY. Every tour we did was booked ourselves kind of thing. And you guys are as a band, you're very DIY, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
What does it take for you as a band to hit the road? What are you all doing to prepare for that? I want the people to hear what it takes, because, they can only hear it from me so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much work. Like, booking a DIY tour is insane. It's like, I mean, a lot of bands, like, for a reason have a tour manager, and even DIY bands I know have a tour manager, and like, not having that is like, I end up doing that a lot, and like figuring out, we all like know people in different places that we can crash with, but it's like, I started recently doing like a Google Doc where it's like you have each, or like a Google spreadsheet where you have like the name of each city and the date, and then the venue, the bands they're opening, the contact, and the phone number, like having all of it organized visually. It's like every night on tour, you need to make sure that there's a crash spot, that there's food sorted out, that there's a show, that there's local organizers and local bands, and like flyers made, and like then there's a vehicle, and there's like like making sure everyone gets their needs met. And especially when you're touring we don't tour with my dog all the time, but we do some of the time. And then you're scheduling in stops for that, and like it's like a really intense process, honestly. And it's like, especially when you're like, then you're hungover in the morning, and like like when you're mixing it with all that shit, it's like, and some people are like, oh, I'm gonna end up staying over here instead because I met these people and I want to go hang out. It's like, it's fucking insane. But but it is, when you tour like that, you end up with, because we have gone on tours that aren't DIY, and it removes a certain amount of stress that's really nice, but it also removes this like absolute like chaos and magic that you get from going into it. Like, who knows what, you're just like kind of at the mercy of whatever circumstances and people you're rolling into, and like, you don't know if you're going to be up all night because the people that you're crashing with are partying and being super fucking loud, or like, or maybe every person sleeps in a bed and they make you an amazing breakfast,
And absolutely.
You
Those are the best ones too.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I think that this happened in 2020. Like, so many house venues shut down during the pandemic. And then, I feel like after that, there were a lot of people who were like getting older and kind of starting to age out of like wanting to have shows all the time. And then when that happened, they were like, well, I'm just kind of done, Yeah. And it's really cool seeing the resurgence of the DIY scene, and like new people and new younger people picking it up. But I have noticed on DIY tour that it's a lot less of a thing to cook for bands. And it is I love cooking for bands. And I just think it's like such an important and cool thing to be like, having a home cooked meal on tour is so sick. And
absolutely,
it's like kind of a dying art, I feel like, but like getting really into being a host for a band on tour is like, it's a thing I love doing still, like in Olympia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it definitely, I mean, especially with like, to add on to what you were saying, like when you are on the road for, weeks at a time, and you may not have, a home cooked meal in that time.
Yeah.
And then you get that one, it kind of rejuvenates you,
Totally.
So I totally agree with everything you just said. So as far as the DIY stuff you're booking, is it, a lot of house shows, or is there like actual venues, what's it like?
It's a mix. We'll play a lot of like DIY venues or people that like have connections to kind of like in between. Like we'll do a lot of like tours where it's like we're playing a house and then the next day we're playing like a legit venue that has like a 300-person cap or something, and then the next night we're playing in like a basement, and the next night we're playing, it's like it's kind of up in the air, and it depends. We play like my favorite shows on tour are house shows usually, and generator shows, anything that's like just like weird and special, and like you end up with just like a shitload of people in like a place that is not supposed to have a show there. It's just like it's the most fun thing. Absolutely. For my spirit.
I feel like those ones are a little bit more memorable too, when you're out and you're at some obscure place that absolutely should not be a venue.
Yeah.
It just works, but I love that. So one of the tours that you guys had been on last year was the Laura Jane Grace tour. What is like, the main difference as far as like DIY touring and then jumping on something like that? Because Laura Jane Grace is, she's been around everywhere and she's been around forever. So going from DIY to that, kind of tour, it has to be very different. It's
extremely different. And that tour was super fun, getting to play with her, like getting to like be side stage for like Pints of Guinness Make You Strong, and like just like all these like old Against Me songs that I've loved forever, and getting to be on tour with like such talented musicians is just so cool and special, and like that aspect was really awesome. And I think that it's also just like it's just different from playing DIY shows, because the price cap of the people that end up coming, it's like the people that end up coming are people that can afford like a $30 or $40 ticket, which is like, people want to make money playing music, and that's what it is. But there's something I think really special about DIY shows where it's like $5, $10, $15, and usually no one is turned away for lack of funds, and there's often free food, and there's just like a different energy to them that I think is really special. And it was really cool playing those shows and getting to be on that tour. They're all really nice, like wonderful people and really talented. But it did, it's just like people are doing that as a career.
Absolutely.
And they're doing it to make money. Like they're doing it that way because it's like sustainable to be on tour, making money and being able to play for larger crowds. But it's just really different. It ends up feeling more like a job. Yeah. Which is it's really cool to have that as a job. Absolutely. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. But yeah.
I have a kind of a funny story with Laura Jane Grace. I worked at a venue in Buffalo called Town Ballroom for about 8 years while we were touring. I'd work when I was home, and they'd let me leave for however long I needed. And the one time she was playing, I think it was with the full band. I don't remember if it was her solo or, whatever. But so at this venue, there's a haunted hallway. It's like, supposedly one of the top 10 most haunted places in Buffalo. This is like one of the oldest venues in Buffalo. It used to, Frank Sinatra performed there back in the day. Al Capone used to hang out there. There's like an old hallway where there's an old bathroom that was like his private bathroom when he was there, kind of thing. And she was like, can I show the band the haunted hallway? And yeah, go ahead. You've been here, 100 times before. Just go ahead. Just, be careful, whatever. There's no lights. And she goes down there and she smoked a bowl with whoever. down there, and it set off the fire alarm. And they were like, what the fuck happened? You know, freaking out because everybody's like, where's this coming from? Where's this, you know, set off from? And here she comes running up the stairs out the back and then goes in her bus and hides with her band. And then they were like, you smoked weed down there, obviously. You can smell it. And they were, yeah, we did. And there, you know, she was like, we panicked, you know, whatever. But this is just a funny little story.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was a very eventful start to the evening, you know.
Yeah.
So I watched the Tiny Desk performance. What was that like?
Well, the Tiny Desk was fun. It was kind of insane because they were like, oh, if you want to come through, like I was like, oh, we're on tour and we are gonna play in DC, so we could come through and play in the morning. And they're like, yeah, but it's like, you know, a full US tour and we're doing it in like 3.5 weeks or something, which is not very long to do a full US tour. Like it's a really high pace in terms of driving and number of shows. And so I think that was our 8th day in a row without a day off. And we played 7 shows in a row, and we're just like driving and playing shows, and we're just so exhausted by that point. And the night before, we played in New Jersey at this house show in this basement, and there's all this like plastic on the ceiling, like this kind of, it looks like plastic bags taped to the ceiling. And we're just like, oh, I don't know what's up with that. But it smells really weird in this basement. And it was a really fun show, but it was just like, you know, we're fucking so haggard, and the show goes until like 1, and then we find out that you have to like duck super low to get into this basement. It's super crowded in there. We're just like so haggard and tired. We find out that the pipes in the house are leaking, so the plastic is just holding up like human shit to the ceiling. You know. No. And it was a really fun show. You know, it was awesome. We played Teenage Halloween played. They're fucking awesome. But it was just like so funny because we're so exhausted and it's just so surreal. Just like, fuck, this is so like people are trying to talk to us and shit. I'm just like, oh my God. And then we leave Jersey at 2 and drive to Washington, DC and get in at like 4 or something, 4 or 5, and then go to sleep and get up at 8 a.m. and get in the shower. Be like, all right, go to fucking NPR and do this now. So I was really haggard, but it was really fun. It was before they had, it was still like remote, like work from home during COVID stuff. So it was, I think the first or second show, like Tiny Desk concert they had since COVID, like actually in the studio. But it was fun. It was good. I was just so like tired and out of it, and like, okay, let's do this shit now. But I got a little Pigeon Pit tag on the shelves behind it.
Nice. That
I can see in like Tiny Desk concerts now.
I love
that.
So
it's like fun, fun little thing in the back.
Very cool. Does the band indulge, you know, often as far as like drinking and partying each night, or?
Yeah, it depends. We definitely got day drunk after the Tiny Desk because we were like, you know, I don't know, just in a celebratory mood. We had a couple of days off. And we're like, all right, let's get some whiskey and
hell yeah,
go play chicken in the hotel pool, and it was good. It depends on the tour, honestly. We definitely have had some tours where it's a lot more partying, and then we've had some tours more recently, especially where we're being more intentional and more like, just, you know, we went on a tour in last February where we were all sober pretty much the whole time, and then the last night we got drunk but had a sober tour, and that was really nice, honestly. Just for like, the hardest part of tour is just like the exhaustion and like how you don't get alone time, you know, you don't get enough sleep, you're not eating right, you're not getting any exercise, and like just like regulating your emotions, it's just like fucking hard. And then when you're drinking and hungover, it's just like, I don't know. I found it actually a lot easier for me to eat healthy and get exercise and like journal and like do things that were good for my brain when I am sober on tour. So
like a little more focused.
Yeah, more focused and more like, and just more present, you know, because tour is so cool, and there are so many times on tour that I have been experiencing really sick stuff, and I'm like, I feel like if I was a little more sober and present for that, there would have been nothing wrong with me, you know, remembering it a little better.
I totally relate to that. I've told, you know, a number of people, it's funny because I mean, I don't really drink anymore. That part of my life has kind of drifted away. I just lost, you know, the taste for it and everything. But while touring, it was, you know, you're bored, so you're drinking a lot of times. You're like, and a lot of times you're not thinking about your meal. You're thinking about your next drink. You know?
Totally.
So and I tell people, I'm like, you know, it's funny because I love touring, and there's a lot of bullshit you go through, and there's a lot of really cool stuff you do. But if I wasn't drinking, maybe I'd remember a little bit more of the cool shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I found that like it's easy to get in a mindset of like, oh, I'm at a show, so I have to be drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it. But then when you're like actually make yourself do it, it's like, oh, I actually don't need that.
Yeah.
Like I can totally play shows sober, and I can play shows without drinking and be on tour without drinking.
Yeah.
And it's really nice when you're at a show in some city that you don't know people in, or you know a couple people in, and there's like a bunch of people you don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's a DIY show, so there's no green room, and you're just in it with there's no like barrier between you and other people. And that's really cool and special, but also just like for having social anxiety and being like, and people just do have like, you know, they love this band and they have like ideas about you in your head, and you could tell that it means a lot to them, which is sick, but it's just like a lot of pressure, you know?
Absolutely.
You want it to, so like all of those things really lead to drinking for me, like being like, oh, well, if I had a beer, like it'd be nice for my experience of this.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just taking the edge off, you know?
Yeah, totally.
What's the live performance atmosphere like at your shows? Because I've watched, you know, a few live performances and just, you know, videos here and there, and it just looks like a good time. You know,
it's fun as hell. Yeah.
It just looks like people are in good spirits, and it's, you know, everybody wants to dance and move. And so what is it like for you on stage?
What's it like for me on stage? Well, I mean, I just try to have fun. Like, I feel like I used to have a lot more stage fright stuff, and then I kind of had a like turning point of being like, maybe just of doing it enough times and just getting actually more comfortable on stage, but just being like, oh, if I like move my body and actually dance, and like the more I just force my body to move around, the more comfortable I am, and the more comfortable other people are, because they see that I'm like having a good time and moving around. And I love like going over to everyone and hanging out. Like, you know, when I'm not singing, like I'm going over to the drums, I'm going over to Jim on the pedal steel and like hanging out with them. And, you know, I feel like the more that I reinforce that playing music is about hanging out with my friends and having fun with my friends, the more fun I have, and the more like I don't actually really give a shit if I am forgetting lyrics or messing up. And when you don't care if you're forgetting lyrics, you're not overthinking it. And for me, that makes me play so much better when I'm not thinking, oh shit, I can't, you know, forget the lyrics or play this wrong. If I'm just kind of locked into the fact that I'm hanging out with my friends and like interacting with my friends and like, you know, with people in the audience, like it's just so much fun. Yeah, and absolutely. It helps me get out of my head.
So I actually made a note listening to the record, like lyrically, you're so fast. You know, you're getting a lot of words out quickly, and I'm like, I can't even talk that fast, let alone like sing and play guitar at the same time, you know?
Totally.
So, I just made a note of it. I should mention it, but no, it's very cool.
Thanks.
What's one of your most memorable moments touring?
Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of them. I think one that like really stands out in my mind is on our first full band US tour. It was the one we did Tiny Desk on, as in 2022, and we had just played in Gainesville, Florida, and we're going to New Orleans, and we had a night off to we stopped in Pensacola on the way to New Orleans, and we went camping on the beach there, and it's, I think, July or early August, and it's so hot during the day, but we were driving down on this like sand spit right outside of Pensacola to this like decommissioned like Navy base, and we just camp on the beach, had like a bottle of whiskey and some ketamine, and the stars were so bright, and the Gulf of Mexico is just like bath water, and we're all just like naked and swimming, and there's like shooting stars above, and then we realized that there's bioluminescence where I don't know if you've seen bioluminescence before.
The water glows, right?
The water glows, and it glows from like movement. So the waves are shiny, but when you like move your hand underwater or your feet underwater, it's like glowing, and there's like trails of like green glow off of you. And, you know, we had just done Tiny Desk. We had just like played a few different shows where I was like, this feels like extreme like milestones in my touring. Like, I don't know, just like these like, we had like a series of shows on that tour that I would like kind of just call perfect, and had just done a Tiny Desk concert, and like, you know, just like on this beach with my friends, we're all naked and just swimming in this like bath water, and it's glowing and they're shooting stars. It was like just the most magic,
surreal,
special time. Yeah. Fucking awesome. It's burned in my brain.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I've never experienced that, but the luminescence or anything, but we, you know, every once in a while we'd try and do something on an off day that, you know, you don't have the opportunity to do very often. And we went to a spring. I think it was down in like Georgia somewhere, maybe.
Fuck yeah. Like a cold spring.
Yeah. But it was like a, you know, it wasn't like a river, but it was like a river, you know.
Yeah.
They had tubes that you could rent, and of course, you know, we're broke, so we didn't rent them. But we found someone like didn't return it, so we had one. There's 4 of us hanging on to this one.
Hell yeah!
Going for like a mile down this spring, and it was gorgeous. But at the same time, you know, one guy sitting on the actual tube, and the rest of us are hanging off, and then you're seeing snakes like swimming towards you, or turtles, and you're like, move a little fucking faster, you know?
Yeah, really, anytime that there's like an opportunity to go swimming on tour, it's like, I feel like you have to take it.
Absolutely.
You cannot say no.
100%. I totally agree, because like, that may be the closest thing to a shower you're going to have for a little while.
Yeah.
Just for that aspect alone, not even just to mention, you know, it's relaxing. It's, you know,
there's something so like good for the soul. Like when you're on tour of being like, I get to go swimming today. Like,
I totally
even if
agree.
it's fucking, we went, I forget. I'm like, what month was it? It was in October. So it was not warm out. I feel like it wasn't super warm anymore, but it was like not swimming temperature in Western Massachusetts. And we went to this insanely cold, just this past October, to this insanely cold river. But it was like so worth it to get in this like freezing ass water, because
that's pretty close to a polar plunge. You know what that is? Yeah. I do cold plunges here. Oh, okay.
In the Northwest. I love that shit. It's
hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Are you in the band, you know, actively going out and doing things on your off day as far as, you know, trying to do wilderness things, or you're trying to go see sightseeing, anything like that?
Yeah, we definitely, I feel like it's a mix. I feel like I'm always trying to do like what we call it enrichment on tour, when we like stop and go do like, oh, we got enrichment today because we get to go on like a hike or something. I'm always trying to do that, I think, kind of to a fault, because it's really stressful to be like, well, we're gonna try to schedule in all these things because it would be good for us, but then we're just stressed on time, you know? And I think there's definitely times when I'm like trying to go do cool outdoor shit, or, you know, I don't know, just like add in all the, or like even just like, oh, well, we could drive like 30 minutes out of the way and go to this like crazy good barbecue spot that someone told us about. Even stuff like that is like, sometimes I think it'd be more restful to actually just fuck off. And like, sometimes when you have a day off and you just like watch reality TV
and just chill
and do laundry and fucking just completely just rest.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you heard that was my dog groaning.
Yeah, I did.
He's like,
he's like, what's going on over there? You're taking all my attention. I love it. What is, if I ask you what's the funniest thing that's happened to you on tour, what comes to mind?
Holy shit, there's a lot. Funniest
all right, top
thing
three.
that's happened on tour. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if I have like a thing like right off the top of my head, but tour is just this like, it's like, we call it being in the microwave, because it just fries your brain. So
Absolutely.
All of the normal things just feel so surreal, because you're just kind of like, you're just so fried from exhaustion and stuff. But I don't know, there's just like little things that I wouldn't even say is like an outrageous thing, but it's just like a thing that I hold in my like heart as like extremely funny stuff. Like, I don't know, like our bass player, Josh, every time we go to, like, we'll just be in random ass places in the middle of nowhere, and he'll just get offered jobs places. Like, people just be like, do you want to work at this gas station that you're like we'll offer him jobs anywhere? And be like, I don't know, there's just like, because he just has like good employee energy, and then people are just like, you should work at this gas station in the middle of nowhere. And he's like, well, I don't live here. He's like, you can move here, you can work at this gas station now. I don't know, just little things like that. Yeah, I think it's hard for me to think of like specific things.
Oh, that's fine.
But, yeah.
Have you and the band been overseas?
Yeah, in November of 2023, we did an Australia and New Zealand tour.
Oh, wow.
Which was so cool. Yeah, we did like a week down the West Coast, and then a week in New Zealand, and then 4 weeks in Australia. So it was 6 weeks total.
Wow.
And fucking incredible. Getting to play like that tour really had some of the most like insane nature stuff I've ever seen in my life, and was just such a surreal experience. We like played this fest in Tasmania, and then got to go camp in the bush in Tasmania. It was like so fun and
That's
cool.
awesome.
And got to go do all the stupid like tourist stuff in New Zealand. Went to the like the Shire set.
Hell yeah.
I was gonna ask, Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
I was going to ask, because
yeah.
I'm a Lord of the Rings guy. I was a Lord of the Rings kid. I wasn't really Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That's like a dream of mine. And now
we were like, we have to go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me and my wife want to do that so bad. It's like a dream of ours. One day, maybe when the kid's old enough, we'll take her with us. But
it's really cool.
Yeah.
It was funny though. We were like driving ourselves around, and you know, you drive on the other side of the road, and the Hobbit site is like super, it's like a couple hours outside of Auckland, but it's really rural, and like 30 miles away from it, there's signs that are telling tourists to drive on the left side of the road, but it's like they got all the way out there.
Yeah.
And just
they have to
thinking
know
about
that.
they're like, if you'd been driving like on the wrong side of the road for like
Yeah.
hours, and then you're like, oh fuck, I didn't get in an accident yet. Yeah,
Maybe
and
they
then
were like, well, Gandalf didn't do it. He was on the right side in the movie, so.
Hey. They don't do that in the Shire. Yeah, and then we haven't announced it yet, and it's not like fully booked, but we're booking a Europe tour for this fall, which I'm
Very
really
cool.
hyped about. I've been there once when I was like 19, and it was really fun. But just for like just traveling, and
Yeah.
I'm really hyped to play shows over there
That's
because
awesome.
I've never.
In Australia and New Zealand, was there like big turnouts for you guys, or
Yeah,
what was that
honestly,
like?
it was really cool. There's a lot of shows that we played there where there was like not a huge turnout, and also like lots of shows where there was like way more than I was expecting, especially in like Melbourne and Sydney. There was like a good amount of shows, honestly, where there were like a lot more people than I expected. I think that when there's American bands over there, it's like really special and fun. And people are like, oh shit, first of all, when am I going to see this band again? And
Maybe
also,
never.
even if they don't like really know your band that well, they're just like, oh, there's an American band playing in my town.
Yeah.
Like, I should go see them. Like, that's cool. And it really struck me how, I think because touring is really hard there, like gas is so expensive and it's so hard to not, like, Australia is so spread out.
Mm-hmm.
The drives are so long between cities, and people were just so accommodating and sweet and like friendly. Like random locals were just like, not like random, like people that played music, but just like locals that were or were not playing shows with us were like, oh yeah, I'll drive you 8 hours to the next town.
Right.
Like your whole band, 8 hours, and not ask for gas money. And like, I don't know, people were just so sweet and stoked that we were there. And it was really inspiring. I was really like, damn, I honestly want to bring this energy home.
I love that. I feel like I wish it was more like that here. I'll speak for myself. If somebody's from out of the country and they're coming in, I've never heard of them, I'm not going. I've gotten pretty bad. I mean, it's a lot harder now that I have a kid to go to shows, but prior to it, that wouldn't have been a reason for me to go in that same mindset of like, I may never get the opportunity to see this band again, which it's like, that makes so much sense, like, this band's here, they might be incredible and you have no idea and you never gave them a chance. You're going to bite yourself, kick yourself later for not taking that chance. But so I wish that kind of carried over here the same way it does in Japan and, all these other countries that anytime someone talks about it, they're like, oh, it was packed. All these people, they just take that opportunity because they know it may not come back.
It's very special.
Absolutely. All right. If your tour van could talk, what's the one story it would tell you that you wouldn't? Or it would tell that you
would tell
not.
that I wouldn't?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Fuck. It would talk a lot about farts, probably.
Hell yeah.
I mean, okay, this is something that I really feel like is that people don't talk about in tour, is how much you're on the road and how tired you are. And just actually, there are just like, I feel like every band I know has like close calls on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's really fucking scary. We had this one time on our way back from our last tour where we were pulling out, like turning right on a red, and the visibility was just bad, and it was like, it was our bad, but we came like maybe like less than a foot away from getting clipped by like a semi. It was going super fast, and shit like that is just like so insane, and people don't really talk about it, but I don't know. It's like, it's gnarly out there. I feel like my tour band would be like, I'm protecting these people, and these bitches like do not know how to drive. Like,
for sure, yeah,
yeah.
No, it's people don't realize that every time you get in the van and drive on the thruway, literally anywhere,
Yeah.
you're taking a chance, because every person on the road thinks they're the best driver on the road, and
Yeah.
they have the right to that road more than you. So they do stupid shit. So,
And a lot of them are like just straight up like looking at Instagram reels or some shit while they're driving.
especially,
and it's like horrifying.
yeah. Thankfully, I stopped touring before that really became a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Instagram and all that shit was a thing. It just wasn't like it is. Like TikTok didn't exist when I was last touring, you know.
Yeah.
So reels, same thing. But
People just look at their phone so much while they're driving and are pulling insane stuff. Like, I don't know. It's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, driving alone is scary in some of those spots, especially when you have no idea, you've never been in this area before, you know?
Yeah.
Like we did a full US, with a band from Syracuse, and we all took the same van and then pulled a trailer. So there were 9 guys in one van with a 10-foot trailer in the back. And we were driving through the Rocky Mountains, and it was just shitting snow. And you know, all the semis have their flashers on, and we're driving, and we go to hit the brakes, and there's no stopping. You just start moving, keep sliding at the pace you were going because it's snowing, and you know, there's nothing. And I'm from Buffalo. I know how to drive in the snow. It's very different when you're in the middle of the mountains. There's tons of semis around you, and they are all, you know, crawling along because they know, but you have no idea. Yeah, it's terrifying. Absolutely. Have you guys had a lot of van troubles over the years?
We've had a bit. We've say last spring or maybe 2 springs ago, we were having van troubles a lot. It was 2 springs ago, because this last spring we bought a van as a band, and that's been super reliable. But before that, just traveling in like much older like vans that were just like, I don't know, just had like really high miles on them. Yeah. And it's like, you never know how long you have left in them.
It's the
and then you're
affordable
like,
ones, not the reliable ones.
Exactly. Yeah. And we had a van breakdown in like southern Washington, northern Oregon, like right on the Columbia River, outside like Tri-Cities. And we had a show in Boise, and the van broke down, and we're just like on the side of the road. And something that is cool about our setup is that it used to be a solo project, and I still occasionally play shows solo. Mm-hmm. So if it makes it so that we can go on these tours where there's different lineups, like we don't have to have the full 6-person thing. Like we'll go on tour without our fiddle player. Sometimes we'll go on tour without our banjo player. Like we have different like lineups and combinations, and we just kind of adapt the music and, you know, take up some more space, take up less space. But I can also play show solo, and our van broke down, and I was just like trying to hitchhike to Boise with my guitar. Like, let's just get to the gig. And the tow truck driver ended up giving us a ride to Pendleton. And then I wasn't able to get a ride in time, but we found like a rental place where I found a really cheap rental and was able to drive just up to the show and back. Mm-hmm. So it ended up working out. But yeah, we've definitely been broken down on the side of the road, and like me trying to hitchhike alone to a show like 4 hours away.
Yeah. That's wild.
Just insane.
What do you do to kind of keep morale up? You know, spending so much time on the road, and if it's over 3-4 weeks or whatever, it's that shit really weighs on you.
It gets tough. Yeah. And just like being with anyone for 3 or 4 weeks straight, no matter what, is really difficult. And being with 5 other people living out of a van and doing tour is really hard. Like it really weighs on yourself and like interpersonal stuff. Like, you know, you just get, it's like, you know, it's like your siblings, you know, like you just like get into it and like,
Well, you all know how to, you know how to poke the bear. You know, each person,
exactly.
you know how to trigger someone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's kind of easy to do it when you're stuck in a van
Totally.
3 feet from the other person. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah. But I think that my like biggest thing that I've learned is just forcing myself to not overschedule the tours. Like just scheduling in more days off than when I'm booking it. I think that we need just book a couple extra in and make sure that people have like that. And then just something I've learned over the years is just being like, we don't have to make every group decision together. Like just being like, we're going to delegate the picking the hotel if we're staying at a hotel or making the food choice to a person. We all understand that we take L's going out to eat places. We're just going to trust this person to make the decision, because I feel like so much comes up and so much like social exhaustion happens by trying to make every decision, like coming to consensus about every decision and being like, we're going to all agree on a place to eat or how far we're going to drive after the show. And it's actually kind of fine if you're all just like, we are letting someone make a decision in order to take the stress of deciding as a group on a thing. So like, I'll just pick a spot and order food for everyone and kind of know what people like. And that's way less stressful for me because I don't have to like keep track of everyone's and make sure everyone has looked at the menu and like we've timed it out. Well, I just like, just order some fucking food, just get a hotel somewhere. And it takes so much stress off because people don't have to be like, it makes it easier for people to like get personal space and do their own things. And, you know,
absolutely. That's smart. That's very smart. And then people wonder why, you know, bands break up after touring so much, because it is very hard to tour with the same people over and over when you know how to get under each other's skin, for sure.
Yeah. But, you know, I don't know. It's like, that's just what being a family is like, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, that's just part of it. And
totally.
I love those people so much. Like
that's why you pick the people that you tour with or start a band with, you know, because those are the ones that you want to surround yourself with. Yeah. And honestly, you know, if it's really what you all want to do, that art is gonna carry it through, you know. It's
100% worth it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time we come home from tour, I'm like, fuck, like, when am I getting home?
Yeah.
And then I get home and I'm like, what do you mean it's over? Like, like, can we go? Like, how long until the next tour? Like, can we just go out again? Even if I'm like, fuck, I gotta get out of here at the end of tour.
What have you witnessed anything kind of crazy on tour? Like, you know, maybe at a venue or, you know, anything like that?
Definitely. Yeah. God, I mean, I feel like I see some insane shit at venues. Yeah, I don't want to like name names, but there's a band that we played shows with before that, they're just like party animals, and they're really into like putting, I'll just say it. They're really into putting stuff in their asses while they play, or after the show. And we played the show, and there was like an after party with the band, and like afterwards it just ended with like this dude putting a butter knife in his ass and then buttering a piece of toast with a knife, and then another dude eating it. There's some crazy shit on tour like that. We're just like, damn, I didn't even know that we could go into that realm, like that shit could end up there. But you know,
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Hey, that's one I'll never forget.
People are crazy, but
yeah.
I love it. I love all of them. So, what was Fest like?
Fest? Okay, honestly, I have a hard time playing big fests. I don't like, in my experience, a lot of big fests are hard because I think maybe just because we're like playing fest, but we're not like big bands there. And often the people who are putting on the fest are they're really overwhelmed with their jobs and they're trying to make money. And there's just like so many bands that it ends up being really impersonal. And I have a really hard time playing them because it's just like, I don't know. They're just kind of a lot of the time, they're just like kind of the opposite of a DIY show. And that being said, I had a really good time at Fest. It was like actually not like that, which was really surprising to me because they had like so many big bands there.
Yeah.
But everyone that was organizing the fest, like when I'm like met up with them to like get our check and stuff, like they were like, oh, like really stoked that we were there. And they were like, I don't know, they were just actually really personable and nice and like wanted to make sure that we had all our shit, even though we were like playing at noon on Sunday.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like, and they were really sweet. And I got to see Joyce Manor play Never Hungover Again all the way through. I've been seeing that band live since like 2012. And it was really fucking fun to see them at Fest on the big stage and play that whole album through. And there were just so many friends from everywhere that I just ran into that I didn't even know were going to be there.
Yeah.
It was a really good time.
I played it. We played it in, I think it was Fest. It was either 12, 13, or 14. One of those ones.
Yeah.
But it, like you said, like it definitely does feel like a DIY fest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's so many bands on it that are like, this is a true punk fest. This isn't like Warped Tour. This isn't like fucking, Coachella or anything like that.
Yeah.
This feels like it is meant for the DIY punk scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's I would agree. It's super fun, and you run into a ton of people that you've met over the years playing shows, and it definitely.
And we played a house show there too, which was
yeah.
really fun, and went swimming and like hung. It was a great time.
Hell yeah, I love that. What's your favorite city to play in?
Off the top of my head, I would say Minneapolis. Just the shows there are always so fun, and the DIY scene there is so cool. There's so many amazing like DIY bands, and people just come out so hard and are so sweet and supportive of the scene there is like so unique and beautiful. It's definitely absolutely one of my favorite places to play. Every time we play there on tour, it's like, I know it's going to be an amazing show. Besides that, I would say New York City is always like such a fucking treat and a blast. We played one of my favorite shows ever in New York. We played a Generator show on this baseball diamond, and we were on home plate at this park in Queens, and we just showed up and set up the Generator, and everyone's just sitting down in the field, and there's like it's like right on a train line, so there's like trains going by, and it's in July, and there's like fireflies everywhere, and it was just like, and it was like golden hour, and then the fading light and all these fireflies and trains going by, and it was just us and Nana Grizzle, which was also, I fucking love that band. That was such a good show. I don't know, it's just, New York is so special, and I love that city so much that it's always a great time.
Sounds like a beautiful experience.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the sketchiest show you've ever played? One that you were like, all right, this is
totally
this is questionable.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like sketchiest show, I have like, there's a couple that come to mind. It's mostly like fire safety shit that I think of in terms of like, or just like how fucking packed it is and how the floor is like, like when people are dancing and the floor is like, we played a show in Minneapolis that was with Apes of the State, who is like another folk punk band that we tour with a lot. It was on like the second floor. It was a house show of a split level house. And so I don't know who the fuck lived in the bottom half, but they just had this show on the top half, and the floor was like moving more than I've ever seen a floor move. And people were pretty like concerned that you might just like
Go
fall
through
into the first floor, stuff like that. But we've definitely also just like, I don't know, like people getting into fights at shows sucks. Like drunk dudes being weird at shows. I've definitely like, you know, it sucks to talk about, but like I've like been like groped at shows, or like, you know, had people saying like bad shit to me at shows, especially if they're not like there to see my band and they're there because they're, you know, homies with the brother of someone playing in one of the local bands. And it's like, you know, not everyone going to shows is like, I think, and I will say that like with the caveat that I feel really confident that pretty much anyone that I could talk to at a show to be like, yo, there's some shit happening, like would have my back, you know? But it just is like, you know, when you end up in these like more lawless spaces, it's really fucking cool. And it's really special, and you end up with all these like really sweet things. And also it just ends up being sketchy sometimes.
Right. Like
drunk motherfuckers that are just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that shit's infuriating. Like I've heard it before. With past guests. A friend of mine, she, and this is kind of her story to tell, but she shared it on the podcast. So I'll just you know, cliff notes. But basically, like she'd go out on these tours, and guys would in the other bands would say like they'd make a list of like who got dibs first.
Holy shit!
And it's like where the fuck do you get off? You know, it's infuriating. I don't understand why like people would think that this thing that's supposed to be like a safe space, right? You're out there performing, and it should be, you know, your safe space. You're doing your art. You're doing this thing that people want to see, and then fucking bullshit. Sorry. Well, it gets me worked up. I'm sorry.
No, it gets me worked up too, because like the whole thing is that DIY music is so fucking cool and special, and is literally entirely about like friendship.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are just like, have not like aged emotionally out of like, or just like, I'm just like, I feel like I'm like, damn, I like interacted with people like this in middle school and high school. And it's like, obviously, you know, we all like know like weird pop punk, you know, there's like people in like pop punk world and DIY world that are like, I don't know, sketchy as hell, you know, and like, I mean, there's a lot of misogynistic shit, and like,
absolutely. Yeah. How many times have bands been in the tabloids for, you know, stupid bullshit, being creepy with young kids, and it's just,
it sucks. But it's like, this thing is so fucking cool, and honestly like really threatening to the bullshit music world that we have our own space. Like it's really important and cool and special to have, especially to have these spaces where we're like collaborating and making shit happen in our life because we care about it, and not because it's about money. And, you know, people are like, so many people I know, myself included, like learned about like political shit through house shows and like through music scenes, like learning about anarchism and like learning about like protest stuff and like how entwined that is with the music scene. Like this is so important. And the fact that people will just be like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to like have my behavior go unchecked.
Voice
like,
my opinion in however the fuck I can do it, kind of thing. Yeah, that's bullshit. I hate it.
But,
that's the worst part about it, but...
Yeah, but that being said, like, you know, I don't know, I played it, we had a show at my house one time where a neighbor came and he didn't even like ask us to turn it, you know, he didn't tell us to stop playing, he just came and was like throwing shit at the bands and screaming and threatened to come back with a gun. And it was just like, that shit is like, you know, it's like, and
there's no place for it in music.
There's absolutely no place for it. And that experience, it was so cool seeing everyone come together and be like, fuck no. Yeah. And like shut it down. And, you know, it was like really, really cool how everyone came together and like,
it's kind of ballsy to do that, to enter a room of just a bunch of punk people and be like, I'll do this, and
he was definitely, I think, already drunk when he did it, but he was like, it was like, you don't really know, like, you hadn't really taken the situation before starting, did you? Like,
yeah. So I got 2 more questions for you.
All right.
Second to last one is, do you guys have any pre-show rituals or superstitions?
I will say I really love doing, it's not really like a ritual or a superstition, but I really love doing some amount of like exercise before show. Doing planks and trying to get as many people in the band to do planks with me is so fun, to get physically grounded and to get just get into my body and be like, I'm fucking going. Like, doing push-ups or doing planks is really fun.
Get hyped up a little bit, get the blood pumping.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. What's in the future for the band?
So we got a West Coast tour coming up in the end of February, beginning in March. We're going down to LA and Phoenix with band Footox, who are really, really good. I'm really stoked about that. And then in end of June, early July, I think we'll be on the East Coast, which I'm really looking forward to. That's not released yet, so we don't have details on that, but that's in the works. And then, in the fall, we'll be doing Europe, which I'm really hyped for. Just now that the album's out, like a lot of touring, honestly, and I've already been working on new shit. So,
hell yeah, I love that.
That's exciting. I've been playing bass in a pop punk band that I'm really hyped on.
What band's that?
It's called Letters and Sodas, which is like a Liz Phair lyric. But that's been awesome because I don't have to write any songs. I just can lock in and play bass lines and like focus on that. But we haven't played a show yet. We don't have any recordings yet, but we've been playing. It's been really fun. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, Lomes. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed speaking with you. A lot of what you had to share, I relate to, a lot of the things that you've experienced, and it's cool to sit down with somebody who's, still doing it, and that's great. Anything you want to promote? Now's the time. Social media, anything like that?
I'm just gonna say, people should get off social media. Fuck that shit. Stop Cop City, free Palestine, free yourself. Lock in and talk to your neighbors, talk to homeless people. Fuck the government. That's all I gotta say.
Hell yeah. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, listening, watching. Everything that Pigeon Pit has got going on will be down below in the description, all their social media, everything like that. Make sure you give the new record, Crazy Arms, a listen. It is a fantastic record. Make sure you go out and see them on tour. If they're in a town near you, bring a friend, pick up merch, do whatever you can to help support the band. And we'll see you next time.